This story comes to us from the Department of Defense Office of Inspector General. It is a press release dated January 25th of this year, 2024, and basically it is covering an evaluation of the DoD's actions regarding UAP. Basically, how has the Department of Defense analyzed, investigated, corroborated, condensed, etc., etc. UAPs? Like, do we know what they are? Is there a way to report them? And if they are reported, where do those reports go? Well, it's a little disconcerting to say the very least. So, looking into it here, the original full classified report was issued August 15th of last year, 2023, and IG Storch has pushed and created an unclassified summary of that, which we'll get into just a moment. But overall, what I'm going to tell you is that, well, something you probably already knew, but as a whole, the department, that being the Department of Defense, the ones responsible for keeping us safe from foreign threats, have not been very coordinated when it comes to UAPs. So, let's look at the summary we have here. So, now I will be posting all the links in the description below. This unclassified summary came to us January 24th of this year, 2024, so it's relatively new, and it gives an interesting breakdown of the historical stuff. It talks about Project Sign, and then it talks about Project Blue Book. It doesn't mention Project Grudge in here, or the NSA's secret space program, but basically it leaves it off right there at 1969, saying that, you know, beyond that, the Department of Defense did not look into it in any sort of official capacity, at least not until the mid-2000s, when they came up with OSAP. So OSAP is the Advanced Aerospace Weapons System Applications Program, and it's funny that they don't mention ATIP. I wonder why. I guess maybe Lou Elizondo's got some explaining to do, but I digress. We have OSAP, and then OSAP was then taken over, or rather disbanded, and the DoD reformed a new organization. Where is it at here? I lost it. Anyway, they formed the UAP Task Force, which I'm sure all of us have heard as one of the presenters on Secret to Skinwalker Ranch was a member of said UAP Task Force. Here we go, right here, UAP Task Force. So they came into being August 2020, and were subsequently disbanded in June of 2021. So they weren't even around for an entire year. Not that it really mattered, because they weren't brought up to full strength. Now, after this came another group, which you guys probably never heard of. I had never heard of it until this. We have in 2021 the Airborne Object Identification and Management Synchronization Group. So that was brought around. Basically, the Deputy Secretary of Defense was directed through a memorandum to put these guys together, and they were the successor to the UAP Task Force. And again, they did not reach operational capacity and were subsequently de-established after not even a year in service. Well, for whatever reason, quite possibly because Congress got tired of the DoD dragging their feet, Congress acted and created in July of 2022 what we have currently, which is Arrow. And Arrow's job is to do what all others have failed to accomplish. And if I'm quite honest, I don't have much faith that they will accomplish it either. We already had Dr. Sean Kirkpatrick, the original chief of Arrow, step down earlier this year. So, yeah. I think the government's just dragging its feet. I don't think we're actually ever going to get any kind of disclosure unless it's something forced upon them. But at any rate, Arrow came on the scene, and that's about where it leaves off. The conclusions are that the DoD does not have a comprehensive coordinated approach to UAP. Now you got to remember, this was last year, August of 2023, right? It is currently February of 2024. So, you know, what has changed? I don't know, honestly. I know Kirkpatrick is no longer in the driver's seat. But other than that, I couldn't tell you what's going on inside the Pentagon or Arrow. So, we know that they do not have a comprehensive coordinated approach. We know that they did not prior to this report. And, yeah, don't have a comprehensive response plan. And on top of that, the DoD components have largely excluded geographic combatant commands in the UAP process. So, this particular summary does talk about what geographic combatant commands are. So basically you have CENTCOM, which is Central Command. You have AFCOM, which is African Command. You have, it's kind of like in the Navy how you have the Atlantic Fleet, the Pacific Fleet. Well, basically the world is divvied up into continents, areas, whatnot. And each one of those areas is basically the responsibility of a commander of some sort, right? That's his area of responsibility. And that person is the head honcho for that continent, for that region, for that ocean, for, you know, whatever. So everything has to flow through them, their office. And for whatever reason, they decided, you know, we're just going to not talk to these folks, and we're going to do our own little thing. Which, government bureaucracy, gotta love it. You know, we're going to do things the absolute hardest way possible. Your tax dollars hard at work, folks. Putting a square peg in a round hole. Anyway, scrolling on down here, they do make recommendations. In fact, the press release here says that they made 11 recommendations in total. And these, there's not 11 here, I don't think. No. So this only has 5 recommendations. And 3 of which are identical. One is to Secretary of the Air Force, one is to Secretary of the Navy, and then we have one for the Secretary of the Army. Scratch that, I meant 4. There are 4 that are nearly identical because the other one is to the Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. Right there, come on. Joint Chiefs of Staff, and basically it's this. Because the DoD has not yet being August of last year, issued any kind of guidance, then the Secretary, as well as the Chief of Joint Chiefs of Staff, need to issue interim guidance for UAPs while waiting on the DoD. And the DoD needs to get off their ass. So these are the 3 points. I mean, it's pretty clear. Yeah. So, I'm skeptical. I'm slightly hopeful. But at the same time, I am not going to hold my breath that we're actually going to get anything substantive from this. So, we'll have to see who when whoever takes over Arrow, if they actually fulfill the law, because technically this is their job. By law, they have to do this, and if they don't do it, technically it's a crime. So I don't know if there's any kind of recourse for it, but maybe somebody should be thrown in jail. Just saying. If you or I would break the law, you'd definitely go to jail, depending on what law it was. Of course, not going to go to jail for jaywalking, but these people are wasting billions and trillions of dollars. They should at least have something to show for it. Anyway, guys, that's what's going on in the DoD, straight from the horse's mouth. And hopefully they will get their act together